Good morning, good afternoon, evening, everyone. My name is Ned Dennison. I'm the chairperson of the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame. We have a special guest with us today, Colm Walsh. Will you please say hello, Colm?
Good morning and hello.
I'll introduce Colm. He recently did a epic swim out to the Fastnet Rock lighthouse. It's about how many kilometers, Colm?
20.3 is what I covered on the day.
Okay, so he covered 20.3. I think it's 18 on the point to point, but we can deal with that later. It's a small rock off the southern coast of Ireland, and your time was in how many hours?
5 hours, 53 minutes.
A speedy time. So first of all, congratulations, Colin. How are you feeling?
Thank you, Ned. I'm feeling okay. Body's feeling good. I'm actually surprised at how I'm feeling after because I thought I'd be absolutely pooped, but I'm feeling good. I went for a dip last night in Sandy Cove.
So I have a confession. Colin and I trained together in Sandy Cove Island, Kinsale, County Cork, Ireland. So we know each other pretty well. So we'll have some fun on the interview. Was this your longest swim so far, Colin?
Yes, yes. I've never done that distance before, Ned. Never.
And tell us all about the long swims you did to get to this point.
Um, well, I started really training in January and I knew I had upped my distance. So in the pool, I was doing between 18 and 24K a week in the pool constant. And I broke that up into say 5 or 6 days and I had 1 day rest. For the Fastnet, you have to do a 4 hour qualifying swim as well. So I signed up for Hit the Wall in Carlingford Lough and that was going to be my longest swim on May the 29th. I've never done a 4 hour or even a 6 hour qualifier. So I went for the 6 hour and I did this in 6 hours. I did 16K roughly, which was huge. It was my first real time, Ned, having to feed from a boat in water, tread water. It was a steep learning curve, but it was a great learning curve at the same time just to get used to different aspects of feeding, dealing with swells and stuff like that in the open water.
For everyone listening, there are probably 20 to 40 long distance swimming camps around the world. I hear good things about all of them. Colin is referring to Hit the Wall run by Infinity. It's between Dublin and Belfast. They get a couple of hundred people there every year, and I hear just great reports about it. This was your first swim with no land easily visible to the left or the right, or perhaps forward or backwards.
Yes, it was daunting as I came out of when I passed the beacon in Baltimore on my left. I looked up and I said, right, I'm going into open water now. And I could see Shurkin on my right hand side because I breathed to my right. And it was a bit away, like it wasn't as close as what I would normally be swimming. And the further I got out, oh my God, open water. Like there was nothing to my left. I could see nothing to my left whatsoever. The boat was on my right. And as we got out further, past Shurkin into Cape Clear, oh my God, it would. I wouldn't say I got frightened, but it's a totally different experience. You're out there. There's no landmark to point, if that makes sense. You've no reference point, and that was my first time experiencing that.
You don't know if you're making any progress.
No,
And for many swimmers, the only thing they have is the feed bottle coming at them every 20, 30, 45, 60 minutes. And Hall of Fame honoree Frida Streeter, MBE, the channel general, just used to say, swim, head down, don't look up, shut up, feed, repeat.
yeah, and that was my plan. Feed to feed. Don't think about time. Don't think about distance. Um, And then the what happened as well, the swell was a bit big out there, and my feeds were not going down well for the first half of the swim. But look, it is what it is. But it was an eye opener to be in that environment with nothing, nothing.
Well, actually, your crew told me, Colm, that the feeds were going down well, coming up well. Um, did you see
They
be a
came up
problem with the
pretty well.
flow?
Yes, they came up well as going down well. Oh my God. But it was amazing. I was rough. No, I mightn't be half. I don't know where I was in the swim. But about halfway, I remember seeing there's little chimneys in Cape Clear, and I was told that that's roughly halfway. And I stopped there, and I was not in a good place, I'll be honest with you. Everything was just not working. My strokes were not working for me, and the feeds were in my tummy, and I could feel them swirling around. Well, let's just say, Ned, the next thing happened. There was a sea of my waddy in front of me from the sick, and the boat crew could see just this purple sea going up and down in front of me. Everything came up. But the minute that happened, I was a different man because I was clearing out the system. And by God, that was that. I went for it then after that
So for
in
the
a
people
good
who
way.
don't know the geography, Colm started in a small town called Baltimore, which is great for holidays. Came out the harbor. It's probably 2K. You
Roughly.
then have Shirkin Island, which goes on forever and ever and ever. You go past
Yes.
something called the Gascoigne Sound, where the water just absolutely rushes, but Cullen was quite far out to sea at that point. Then there's Cape Clear Island, and then Fastnet's kind of the continuation of those islands. Um, and did you have any wildlife come and visit you? Any dolphins?
No, and the crew were looking like I didn't know what was going on. I had my head down and just kept going. But the crew were looking for dolphins and they were looking for whales, but there was actually none out there. They said, all right, I came within possibly 3 foot, maybe 4 to 5 foot meter of a giant lion's mane out there. They could see that. But other than that, there was nothing. I had no wildlife. I was kind of disappointed. It's small. I was hoping for some dolphins.
You don't think throwing up your my wadi had anything to do with it, Colin?
I think actually that had a lot to do with it because they just said, right, keep away from this fella. No one knows what he's going to let go next.
Was that your first experience being sick in a swim?
Yes, yes. And of all places for it to happen, it had to happen on my Fastnet swim. Um, and I dealt with it. I knew that my crew were there for me, waiting for me to kind of compensate for that, for that eventuality. And in fairness, I could see him hustling on the boat, and Nathan and Adrian got just about 100 mils of Lucasade into me in about 3 to 4 minutes for me getting sick, and just to get something down. And that refreshed me then as well, and it took it helped my throat not to feel as bad after the amount of my waddy that came up, we'll call
So
it.
I told you several times, Colin, there's only three decisions you ever have to make in open water swimming. In situations like that, you cry for your mommy, you get
Yeah,
out, or you keep swimming. And it's always
yeah.
the same three decisions. They never change. So you kept swimming. Um, did you have any other low points in the swim where you ran out of the prayers you knew as a child, where you wondered why you were out there? You said never again.
Um, Good question, Ned. I would say about maybe 2 hours in, um, I couldn't get my normal stroke going in the swell. It was normally I'm breathe one stroke and then take 2 strokes and then breathe again. Because of the way the winds were coming, there was a small easterly swell coming in. I had to go breath, stroke, and it took me a bit of time to get used to that. But after 2 hours, I was there. Oh God, come on, give me a break, please. Give me a break. I'm here. I'm doing it. Please. But she wasn't going to give it to me easy. Um, I did hit a wall. I had a kind of a wobble, and Adrian, one of the crew as well, came over to me and he said, 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes, you can do 10 more minutes. I kind of knuckled down then after that, and then my body came up, and after that happened, Ned, I was like a new man. I felt a lot more at ease. My stomach wasn't at me as much. I was started then in a good headspace as well. But let's just say from hour 2 to hour 3, that was a dark place to be in. And I basically had to head down, suck it up. I paid, I was signed up for this. No one forced me into it. This was my own madness happening, as we call it, and get it done. Get it done. That was my attitude.
Um, did you make the mistake at any point, Colm, of looking up to see if you could see the Fastnet?
No, and no, and I was very mindful of this when I was actually told I was swimming out to it, because it's a little rock. Like from a distance, like all you can see is the outline of it. And the way the boat was positioned on my right hand side, going out past Cape Clear, like if anyone ever goes on a boat tour, when you go out to Cape Clear and you turn around, you can immediately see the outline of the Fastnet rock. Um, because the boat was on my right hand side, I couldn't really see it. And I just said, right, keep the head down, keep the head down. It'll come into view, it'll come into view. And after, I suppose, right, halfway, 3.5, 4 hours, the boat all of a sudden uh, came back and I could see the outline. But then it shot in front of me again to kind of say, right, it's there, but we're not going to let you see it. So, which was a good thing because I kept the head down then, because trying to keep my head, if I was putting my head up in the water, looking constantly at it, I wouldn't have made the progress that I did make.
Tell us
And
about your swimming costume, Colm.
um, I wear a sleeveless orca because due to my small disability with my legs, because I can't kick my legs due to injuries from accidents years ago, I need the neoprene. I need that bit of buoyancy to lift my legs in the water, because I have tried to swim without it and my legs just go down and it's just too much drag. So I wear a sleeveless orca, and that frees up my arms because I'm all upper body strength. And it works for me and it does help me. And I know people have an issue with people doing swims in neoprene and all this. My attitude is get it done. If you want to do it, enjoy it and get it done. And there was never any issue with the Fastnet swim crew with me wearing that. They said, no problem. That was it. And it did help me, and I could feel it helping my legs keep up in the water, and that did help me as well for the whole swim. Kept me in a good angle, I could say, maybe. I don't know.
And your training partners down at Sandy Cove, do they care you're wearing the sleeveless orca?
No, no, not at all. What they do compliment me on down there is my lovely tan lines, because because when I've lovely great tan lines on my back, like, and people will pay good money for these tan lines, but that's the only ripping I get, and I take it with laughter down there. There is no issue with it down there. Anywhere I go, there is never any issue with it.
How did you pick your crew, and did you have any hesitancy in finding crew?
No, when I put it out that I was doing the Fastnet swim, there was never any problem with crew. Alex, a swim buddy from Sandy Cove, he jumped in straight away. There was no hesitation. I asked Adrian, no hesitation, and I knew if there was ever any problem as well, say with work and stuff with people, that you'd never know what's going to happen. Like this was 18 months in the planning, and I knew that if when the day came that there was a problem with the crew, all I would have to do was put a message or ask someone, and there would have been volunteers lining up to help me. And that was very much in the back of my mind as well, that if something did happen, I always had people behind me willing to help at a moment's notice.
Don't forget to mention Sinead.
Oh yes, my partner Sinead as well. She was invaluable on the boat. In fairness, it was her first time ever crewing, and she had no experience at all of anything like this, and she stepped up to the mark big time. She was hoping for whales and dolphins, but unfortunately, all she could see was me bobbing up and down in the swell. But she went above and beyond the call of duty out there when needed.
So you do the biggest swim of your life. You swim with a whole bunch of friends down at Sandy Cove Island in Kinsale, and clearly you would have been the hero of the week with all the attention shown on you. Tell us about the week.
It's been a hectic week in Sandy Cove with swims going on everywhere. Um, do you want me to talk about my own swim or what's going on in
What's
general
going
down
around?
there,
What's
Nick?
going around you? Who those who took the spotlight off you, the selfish people.
Um, there was Brian Foster and Finbar Hedeman. They were doing the Catalina challenge. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that right as I should be, but um, Brian swam the Catalina channel on the Wednesday. I got the phone call on the Monday to be ready for the Wednesday, but the conditions weren't right. So they said, right, we'll go for the Thursday, which was perfect because another Sandy Coast swimmer, Finbar Hedeman, he swam Catalina on Friday. And then Olga, another Sandy Coast swimmer, swam the Fastnet on Friday as well. So in the space of 3 to 4 days, roughly, there's been four massive swims after happening in Sandy from swimmers that swim around Sandy Cove, and unbelievable, unbelievable. And I just slotted in nicely into the right middle of them. It was lovely. It was like someone had sent a message from the gods above or the sea above, the sea down below.
And then we had Danny Cameron, based in England, who was over for training for a couple of years, who
Yeah,
completed the English Channel yesterday, I believe.
yes.
How
Yeah.
did you get started, first of all, in swimming and then in open water swimming, Colm?
Um, for swimming, why I started swimming really was because I had a very bad motorbike crash when I was very young. Another story entirely. And I did major damage to my legs. And um, it, how can I explain? To keep myself nimble and my body and my joints in good condition is the easiest way I can do it. Swimming is the best thing for me because it puts no pressure on my legs. And because of that, swimming was the obvious non, what do they call it? Non weight bearing exercise I could do. So I was in the pool and I was swimming up and down lengths and happy out. And one day, this is going back about 10 years ago, a lifeguard said, would you ever try doing the Lee swim, which is the swim up the Lee in Cork City? And I kind of went, oh, I'll give it a try. So I went out to Inniscarra after Inniscarra Dam and just getting used to water and everything, and did the Lee swim, happy out. And it just kind of sowed a seed for me. And then a friend of mine, another lifeguard in Leisure said, do you ever hear of Sandy Cove? And I said, no. And then he said, right, come on away down there and we'll see what you can do in the open water. So I had never swam in the sea before this, as in I paddled like in the waves and flipping doing weird stuff. But that day I went down to Sandy Cove and he brought me around the island, and it's a special place, as in it's just when you go around corner one, that's the easy way I can describe it, and you look out and the sun is coming and the sun is peering over the rocks. It's just a special place, and it kind of sowed a seed in me, and it just started from there. And the open water then was very beneficial for my overall health and joint care and mental health as well. You go into the sea, you've no gadgets, you've nothing, headphones in, you're in your total own headspace. And I find it very good as well for my own mental health as well, just to be able to go out there on my own. And at times, um, bait the water up if something's not going right, but most of the time I love it. And it is helping my whole body stay in good shape with my health issues. So yeah,
What
all
what
good.
one of the things, Colm, that people talk to me about, and particularly people with some physical disabilities, is they have a hard time finding a group, finding training partners. Tell us about your journey. Did you just arrive and everybody yelled Colm and you were the best friends, or do you have to work at these things?
You have to put in a bit of effort. Like um I kind of knew that there was different groups swimming in Sandy Cove, like you have different groups and you have different levels of swimmers as well, as in abilities. And I spotted these people going around and like they were good, they were fast, and I said, right, I kind of want to get to that level someday. So I just asked a few people around, and how do I get known and how do I kind of get into the group? And the next thing I found out that if the early morning swims, the morning scratchers, where you start at sometimes 6 o'clock in the morning, which means I live up by the airport in Cork City, so it would mean getting up at 5 o'clock, hopping into the car, driving 25, 30 minutes, depending on traffic, with milk trucks and tractors and everything in the way. Get down there, and you've some people going in at 6, you've some people going in at half 6 and 7. And I was down there about 2, 3 mornings for the early mornings, say the half 6 groups going in. And they said, "Oh, how are you doing? How's it going? And do you want to join us? Come on away in. Come on, no problem." And that was my first kind of invitation into it. And they then they just took care of me first because they didn't know my abilities at that time. And they saw then, right, this fella can swim. So right, they took my number and then I joined the WhatsApp group, and then it just ballooned because you're joined in, you have different people, and that's where technology today is very handy because you can put up no a message. I'm going thinking of going for a swim at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If someone's around, someone will go with you, and you're helping someone in a way you may never know. And like the morning swims are lovely. There is a bit of dust though getting up in the say in the autumn and the early mornings, like March, April, but the frost is still on the cars, and you're going down. You say, "Why am I doing this?" But then you
And
get down
don't
there.
forget it's dark as well.
Yes, like like I've left my house here in the pitch black, drove down to Sandy Cove, still pitch black, and the dawn is just breaking, and we're going into the water. But you're never on your own. There's always somebody there with you, and that is fantastic. That is, and that lifts you as well.
I describe it to people in a strange way. I said it's a bit like when some of you were younger and you'd like to go to the nightclub. You can't get into the nightclub if you've never been there before. But if the bouncer sees you all the time in the queue, eventually you become a regular and you can get in. So for the open water, I say to people, you've got to go down, be safe, be known, say hello to people, and Colm, I will tell the story. We had a an uproar at one point because the harbor master was using a chemical to clean the slime off the slipway,
Yeah.
the concrete slipway. So we asked for stupid volunteers who would come down with wire brushes and scratch the stuff off the slipway. And you were the first one to put your hand up,
Mm,
and you came down. And while the rest of us were stupid and on our knees scratching this thing, you were smart enough to figure out how to make a scratch brush on a broom handle so you could stand.
yes,
And those kinds of things, they help. So volunteer to help, do the timekeeping at the next event in your local swim,
yeah.
get known to people. Um, Tell us a bit about the group. You know, it sounds like a reasonably high performing group. How many English Channel swimmers are there? How did you get the idea for the Fastnet swim? What, how does it work for you?
Um, oh, the first, the easiest way I can put it, Ned, in 2019, I fell and I did major damage to my knee. That was bad already. And I had signed up for Cork Distance Week that year, and I couldn't do it. And there was a swim down in West Cork, the Galley Head swim, which goes from Red Strand to Warren Point, a 10K swim. Lovely swim. And so I always wanted to do that swim, so I had to get my knee replaced and got that done. Rehabilitation, long road and that year, everything. But the Galley Head swim was always on my mind. And in Sandy Cove, with the group, no matter what ability you have, you're always encouraged to try new things and trying to push yourself that small bit. And like you have um English Channel, I can't name off my head how many English Channel swimmers are down there, but like you've Rob Behan, you Finbar Hedeman, um, I actually can't, off my head, I can't count them. But these people are always there encouraging you and giving you little tips and bits of advice about how to get longer into your swimming. And like instead maybe doing 2 laps of the island, go for a third, go for a fourth. Conditions pending now. Conditions are critical when you're starting off. So I wanted to do the Galley Head swim. So in 2021, signed up for the Galley Head swim. First 10K swim in really open water. I had done 10K in Loch Earn in Enniskillen in 2018, but that was fresh water. And like there was no kind of chop or anything I would have to deal with. So got in, trained for the Galley Head. Um, Again, Alex and Bronwyn volunteered to be my crew on that swim because I needed a rib for safety cover for that. And I just started doing laps of the island and building up confidence. And no matter how much distance I was covering, there was always somebody there, whether they'd done the English Channel, Alcatraz, Robben Island, North Channel. They were always there helping me to go around that extra bit, get my distance up, and give me advice about feeding everything. So 2021 came and I did the Galley Head swim. I did the 10K in just under 3 hours. I was in the top five, I believe, solo swimmers that day. Great day. And that sowed the seed that, right, there is longer out there. And that's when the Fastnet piqued my interest. I heard about it and I said, right, it's down in West Cork. It's only down the road an hour and a half. That sounds like one you can do. So that sowed the seed. And I know of a swimmer that swims in Sandy called David Conradi, who had done the Fastnet, I think around that time as well. And it was iconic, Ned. That's all I can describe it. When you look at it out there and you see this rock in the middle of the Atlantic, and it's just iconic. And I said, right, I want to do that. And the seed was sown, and did research, got in touch with the Fastnet crew, the Fastnet swim of Nathan and Noel. explained to them roughly about my small mobility issues. And there was never any hesitation from them as well taking me on. I just said, look, lads, I'm not that great at walking. I need to take my time. They said, no problem. You do the training and we'll get it done. We'll help you no matter what. So that was the seed sown. And when you're in, say, a community like Cork Distance Week, like I did my first Cork Distance Week in 2022, and when you're in an environment when you have swimmers from all over the world aiming to do different swims, have done different swims, and you're there listening, dual channel across the channel twice. You're there, oh my God, these people are fantastic. And whether they be young or old, these are people that are planning these things. They are encouraging people to do these swims. They're giving information. They're giving you, right, you get in touch with this person about this pilot boat. That all creates a sense of very good feeling. And it creates this thing that you can do these things, you can accomplish these things, whether you have a small disability, whether you have a big disability, whether you've no disability at all. Don't hold yourself back, go for it. And with the support of these people and with the support of family, like Sinead was a great support to me for the 18 months that I signed up for the Fastnet. You just tip away and you start believing in yourself, then you can do these things.
So, Colm, I mentioned it before, but these 30 to 40 long distance training programs around the world, I believe if you put 10 long distance swimmers together for 3, 4, 5, 9 days, and they're focused on swimming and they get to know each other, you create so much goodwill and so much supportive environment. Doesn't matter where in the world it is, doesn't matter what the water temperature is, you get something good out of it. So for Fastnet, Colm, you walked into the water on a slipway, so that was okay. How
Yes.
did you get out?
Okay. This was another hurdle I had to overcome. Because of with my injuries to my legs, it does create, I have to be mindful of my entry and exits of swims, what's suitable for me. Like going down the slip, Sinead actually was holding my hand because I just had to take my time, and I got to my ankle depth in water, and Sinead said, "You're okay now." And was very careful not to go on any algae or anything, not to slip. God forbid before I started to swim even. Hooter went off, I went, and I was on to Nathan and Kieran, who again were great help. I was on the Radiance boat, Kieran's boat, and I had to make sure that they had a ladder at the back that was able to go into the water, not just hang off the side of the boat, but actually extend into the water so I could kind of grab onto it and pull myself up. So that wasn't even in my mind when I was starting, by the way. Like that was the last thing. My point was to get there. Um, so swam, got out to the Fastnet, and it was swelly. There was a swell out there, as normal as out there. It's very rare you get a calm out that far out in the Atlantic. And I was like, oh God, my arms were bit off me in a good way. Um, my throat was in bits as well because of everything that was going on. And I said, right, I have this hurdle, my last hurdle to get back into the boat. But in fairness, they lowered down this aluminium ladder at the back that was attached to the boat. It wasn't a freestanding ladder, it was actually attached to the back of the boat. And I swam over and we were going up and down, and I was like, okay, one step at a time, don't rush it, just take your time, take your time. And I could see Alex was on my left hand side, and actually Nathan was actually lying on the floor of the boat. with his arm out, ready to grab me. So I just said, hold tough, just give me a minute just to get my kind of bearings. And I just said, right, put your good leg up first. So I just put my good foot up first on one step and I grabbed the top step and I just hoisted myself up as best I could. No, I hope no one has a video of it because I was like a bloody monkey getting up a tree. Like it was bloody awful. But in fairness, Nathan, the minute he saw me coming up, he wrapped his arm around my shoulder, so I couldn't go back in. And Alex grabbed me as well, and they just let me climb up the ladder. They didn't pull me; they just let me climb up very slowly. And when I got up, then they just helped me to a seat. I was hobbling. I could barely, like, I was hobbling, but I did it. Just took my time. And I just took a few deep breaths as well. But then again, when I saw Nathan and Alex and Sinead was there as well, the minute I was got upright, because when I got upright, Ned, as you know from swimming yourself after swimming a long swim, your body doesn't know what's happening. My body did not know what was happening. I was as white as a ghost. I was like someone had sucked blood from me at this stage. And that sensation of my whole body going into an upright position was foreign to me. So they just all, in fairness, Sinead, Alex, Adrian, and Nathan, they all made sure I just hobbled over and sat down. And then again, when I sat down, I'm going to say this again, my body came up again. And there was a bucket this time.
So Colm, I just want to make the point. You discussed ahead of time with the crew that you had some mobility issues.
Yes.
You got their agreement. You agreed a plan. You made sure it wasn't a rib. And if anybody's
Yes.
ever tried to get in a rib in the open sea, it doesn't matter. It's just an ugly thing. Trying
Yes.
to put anybody's foot on that little tiny plate on an engine is a
Yes.
horrible experience. So you had a plan. You also had we'll forget about Adrian for a moment here, but had at least two good strong men there to help you. Whether good strong women doesn't really matter, but when I see some people and they go, "Oh, my crew was my 6-year-old daughter and my 76-year-old father,"
Mm.
they're probably not the people to help you in the boat. Uh, Last question for you. If you hadn't found yourself into an open water swimming pod that was supported and pushing, can you imagine doing this? Can you imagine training
No.
alone?
Oh, no, Ned, I'll be honest. The training, especially whether you're in the pool or in open water, um, like we'll start with the pool if you don't mind. Like going up and down the pool doing lengths, oh my God Almighty, it is heartbreaking at times. But if you're in a pod, if you're on, like, if you're in a community, I'll say, that knows what you want, knows that you have a goal at the end of it, they'll always check in with you and say, how was your pool swim today? Like every day when I came home, Sinead asked me, how was your pool swim? And some days it was crap, some days it went well. And because of my mobility issues, even getting in and out of the pool took actually more out of me than actually the swimming at times. Because like after doing 5K, turning is like the way I do, I actually, the hardest part to me swimming in the pool was actually climbing up the steps, getting out of the pool. But
I
Sinead
don't
was there.
imagine you do a brilliant flip turn either.
Oh my God, I'm like a doll. How could you put it? A, a cow would have more coordination than me at the end of the pool. That's the only way I can describe it. Um, and I have to mention Brian here as well, Brian Foster, who did the Kathleen. He was there as well, always encouraging me with my pool swims. But we kind of trained together. We did a lot of training together this year, myself and Brian, a lot of long swims. And even coming out of the pool, if you like when someone was texting how you knew that you had this connection. Then when we got into the open water, because like January and February in Ireland, the water was cold, dark moorings, as you said. It is not really conducive to open water swimming. And the safety issue then as well when it comes in, cold water. Like I was waiting for March, April, yes, time to get into it. And then the the training started in the open water. And like Brian was there, my Sandy Cove, Adrian was there, Alex was there. Anyone around Sandy Cove like that, I put up in the WhatsApp group, I'm doing a few laps. Yeah, we'll join you, say for one or two. But even for them one or two, even to have that company starting off getting into the water is crucial. Because when you're on your own, you can go into very dark places and you can go, why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? So that bit of encouragement, even coming out of the water, that bit of say camaraderie, how many did you do? Did you do much? Even having the biscuits, which I bring all the time, I have to add in Sandy Cove. The custard creams, yes, have to have the custard creams. And that bit of thing after the swim, that right, I'm after doing say 3, 4 laps, give myself a bit of reward. And here, have one yourself, have one, spread them out, spread the love. That's what I call it. And that's encouraging then as well because it creates that feel good factor in yourself as well. That you always come away from a swim in a positive mood.
I
And
described, sorry, go ahead.
and and that's what I find myself. I always, no matter how down, not I won't say down, how life at times can be so hard, I always come out of the water in a positive way.
It's worth mentioning that Brian Foster is 15. And
Yes.
I also will do a shout out to Finbar Hederman. He did English Channel many years ago. And when he finished, I described it that 60 people had swum the English Channel because Finbar was really the first one. Back before WhatsApp, he would send these text messages and say, like, I'm doing a 9-hour swim starting at some stupid time on Sunday morning. Please sign up to be with me for at least an hour. And so I remember signing up on the like 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning. So I knew no one would take that spot. And I met Finbar at the ocean and he said, oh, he said, don't you want to put a feed bottle? He used to have this ring, floating ring he would anchor out in the water. So he didn't come back to the slipway where you could get out. So I said, no, it's only an hour. And he said, oh, he said, I didn't mention no one else signed up for the 9 o'clock, so I need you for 2 hours. And by the time you've driven down, you've made the personal commitment to somebody, you're going to help them. And Finbar was really the guy that asked everybody, I need help. Please sign up. Please take an hour of my swim. I need some company. So, Colm, I will congratulate you. I will wish you the best in your future endeavors. I'll give you a couple of days before I ask for your next goal. I'll give you a week before I start kicking you about your next goal. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Ned, and just thank everyone. And I want to make a special thank you to Brian, my crew, Alex, Adrian, and Sinead, who was brilliant, the Fastnet swim team down there, and all the Sandy Cove crew. Thank you all.